Today's topic is chapter 11 of machine design. The topic of today's lecture is rolling contact bearing. First of all, we need to discuss why we need bearing. In the last class, we have studied need of shaft, need of keys, need of snap ring, etc. Whenever the basic purpose of shaft is to transmit power from input to output. For that purpose, we need shaft. Keys and collars are added to connect this hub with the gear. Hub can be gear or anything, but to support shaft, we need bearings. One bearing is this, and second bearing is this. The main purpose of these bearing is to provide a support to the shaft while rotating, and the friction should be minimum. As the shaft rotates, we need all the power to be transmitted from input hub or input gear to output gear, and we need zero loss or minimum possible loss to the bearing, so that that's why we add a bearing with minimum possible friction. There can be, for example, let's say if there is a gear attached to it, the force is transmitted here. At this point, a force has one horizontal, one vertical, and one horizontal component. This horizontal component will provide a thrust in this in axial direction, and this will provide a thrust in radial direction. The basic purpose of bearing is to support the shaft and resist any thrust provided in horizontal and radial direction. Most of the bearings are designed to resist radial forces, these radial forces. But the axial forces that exist in the shaft can be transformed into, their effect can be calculated in terms of radial forces, and at the end we have overall forces in terms of radial forces, and according to those radial forces we need to design bearing. So in simple word, the basic purpose of bearing is to support shaft. While shaft is rotating, bearing provides support with minimum possible friction, and the bearings are designed according to radial forces on the shaft, and the component of axial forces are converted into radial forces, and we have an overall effect of the forces exerted on the bearings in terms of radial forces, and then we select the bearing depending on those radial forces. So that is a basic need of bearing, and that's how we select a bearing. So starting from the definition of bearing, whenever two parts have relative motion, they constitute a bearing regardless of their shape or configuration. Usually lubrication is needed in any bearing to reduce friction. As metal is slided on another metal, therefore we require lubrication, because lubrication reduces the friction. Sometimes we have a component slides on another component. That connection is also called bearing, but mostly in our in our life we use bearing for rotatory element. For example, in this case, this shaft may move in this direction, axial motion, and this bush provides a bearing surface, and it reduces the friction on the surface. And this motion, our basic purpose is to provide the axle with this the bar with this lateral motion, axial motion. There are two types of bearing. One is plain bearing and other one is roller bearing. What is a plain bearing? Let's see, this external shaft is this stationary shaft, and internal shaft is rotating with an RPM. Their surface is in contact with each other and lubricated, because metal to metal contact or motion induces heat. So we have to put some lubrication in this, and this contact can be a plain bearing contact, surface to surface contact, one moving surface on other stationary surface. It is like this. These bearings are, if you cut the section, these are metal to metal contacts. And the parts, both of these parts are made of bearing material, or also polymer. Any bearing which if there is a bearing on the shaft, and this is shaft, Any motion in this direction supported by the bearing is called thrust bearing. The load is axial bearing. Any bearing which supports this axial load is called thrust bearing, or normal bearing which supports rotatory motion are called radial bearing. A rolling element bearing which has hardened steel ball or roller captured between hardened steel waves may be used to provide a low friction moment. This external bar is stationary and this inner shaft is rotating. These are the balls. The inner circle and outer ring are connected with these balls, and balls are rotating in between. When this shaft rotates, it causes the ball to rotate and provides minimum possible friction. This can be ball or this can be cylinder as well. In this case, the contact of this surface is the ball with the outer surface is spherical, semicircular, and here we have a line contact. Both of these are the example of roller bearing. This is roller ball bearing, and this is also a type of roller bearing. As these balls rotate within the bearing, it provides minimum friction. If you want, or some manufacturers, they also include lubrication within the bearing, and also after lubricating the bearing, they provide a seal on the top so that the dust may not enter in the bearing. Plain bearing that we have already seen in the previous slide are custom designed for the application, while rolling element bearing are typically selected from manufacturer catalog, suited for load, speed, and design life that we will study in today's lecture. How to select a bearing. You do not need to design the bearing, you need to select the bearing. Rolling element bearing can support radial thrust or combination of those loads depending on their design. In this topic, we will be only studying radial design. The term rolling contact bearing, anti-friction bearing, and rolling bearing are all used to describe that class of bearing in which the main load is transferred through elements in rolling contact rather than in sliding contact. Let's say this external part is stationary and this part is rolling, so that's why, because due to rotation of this element, this rollers rotate and the contact is rolling. That's why we call it rolling contact bearing. In rolling bearing, the starting friction is about twice. Starting friction is always higher, and after that, once the parts start moving, the friction reduces. Load, speed, and operating viscosity of lubricant do affect the friction characteristics of the rolling bearing. That is understood because the type of lubricant that we are using and amount of lubricant that you are using, it depends on, it affects on the friction. In reality, a rolling bearing is not anti-friction. It does not have a zero friction, but we try to reduce the friction as much as possible. In this topic, we do not need to design the bearing. Bearing have already been designed. We only need to select the bearing. When the designers has designed the bearing, they consider the effect of fatigue, friction, heat, corrosion resistance, kinematic problem, material property, lubrication. All of these effects have already been considered while designing the bearing. They have catalogs. From those catalogs, we can select the or depending on load on the bearing, we can select which type of bearing is allowable, which type of bearing we can use. From consideration of all these factors, bearing specialists arrive at the compromise that in their judgment is a good solution for the problem stated. So we have to select a good solution from the existing catalogs. That is the purpose of bearing design. The design introduced the invariant, the statistical distribution of life, which is strongly Weberian. I will explain Weberian distribution in coming slides. There are some useful deterministic equations addressing load versus life at constant reliability. Reliability also I will explain in coming slides. They introduce a catalog rating as rating life. So in the catalog, whenever you select a bearing, they will be related to a catalog rating and rating life. The life of bearing according to which the bearings are designed by the manufacturer. And reliability life of the bearing, and reliability and life of the bearing have the relationship which are Webelian. The load-life relationship combines statistical and deterministic relationship given the designer a way to move from the desired load and life to the catalog rating in one equation. What we do? We have Webelian relationship between load and life. Load on the bearing and life of the bearing. Similarly, in the catalog, they have given a bearing for standard loads and for standard life. We have to convert desired load and life in terms of the catalog loads and life. By converting them, we will be at the end we will be having one load which is related to catalog load, according to which the bearings are listed in the catalog, and with reference to that load we need to select required bearing. That you will understand when we'll be studying the equations. Ball bearing also resists thrust. That I have already explained that ball bearing resists thrust. So they must find the equivalent pure radial load that does the same damage as existing radial and thrust load. So if the bearing are loaded in thrust or axially, we have to convert that axial load in terms of radial load so that the final load on the bearing is pure radial load. So there has to be a mean that you will that is given in the book, but we will not go in that detail. But there is a way to convert the axial load in terms of radial load, and at the end we will be having only a radial element load on the bearing, and with reference to that load we can select bearing from the catalog. In the next section of the chapter, they have given us variable loading. Variable loading I have explained in the previous lecture as well. Variable loading is related to fatigue. You have not studied that, but the bearing design goes one step further with related to variable loading, and also oscillatory loading, which is also related to vibration and other factors which you have not studied yet. And from all that we get, we can select the bearing from the catalog. Bearing types. Bearing are manufactured to take pure radial loads, pure thrust loads, or a combination of load. When we have pure radial load, we can select that, we can convert that load in terms of catalog load, and after that we select from the catalog load which diameter or which bearing is suitable. That is the process. If we have pure thrust load, we convert this thrust load in terms of radial load, and then from radial load we get catalog load and select a bearing. And when we have combination of load, we convert pure thrust thrust part into pure radial part. Then we have a complete load in terms of radial load. From that radial load we compare it with catalog load and we select a bearing. So at the end the final load on bearing will be in terms of radial load. Nomenclature of bearing. If you cut a section of bearing, you have these components: one outer ring, one inner ring, balls or rolling element, it can be cylinder or it can be ball, and separator. This is a separator within the ball. And in some cheap bearing you will not be having a separator, but basically we have these four. Bearing type, there are some bearing types that are given in the book. I suggest you to study it for understanding which type of bearing we use mostly. For example, this is an example of deep groove bearing. Deep groove bearing, a ball is inserted in the groove and we have separator. It can resist radial and axial motion. If we see here, we have a filling notch. We have a notch here. It is angular contact because separator is a little bit downward, so the contact is angular, so it can bear a little bit more thrust load. Here we have double row bearing, which provide an extra strength. We have self-aligning if there is misalignment between the both of the rotating shaft, outer and inner, or support. Outer shaft can be support, outer ring can be support, which is because if we have a shaft and we have to hold the shaft, let's say to the ground. On the ground we have a support, and on the support we fix a bearing. The inner cylindrical is rotating with the shaft, and outer ring is supported by this stationary element. So outer ring is stationary and inner ring is rotating. So if there is a misalignment between the axis of shaft, if there is misalignment, due to misalignment, the bearing can support itself. Otherwise, the shaft can be damaged. Also, roller bearing. These were the ball bearing, and we are also roller bearing. Roller bearing, you can study the different advantages of using different type of bearing in the book. Bearing life. Now we go towards bearing life, towards some of the mathematical portion. What is bearing life? When the ball or roller or rolling contact bearing rolls, contact stresses occur at the inner ring of rolling element and on the outer ring. So that is understood. Whenever it rotates, there stresses exist on the bearing. If shaft is rotating, those stresses are cyclic, and the life of bearing can be defined in terms of number of revolutions the bearing can support. Let's say a designer can say that our bearing can support 40 kilonewtons load for up to, say, 10 million revolution. So that is a bearing life. If a bearing is clean and properly lubricated, and it is mounted on sealed against the entrance and dust and dirt, and is also maintained this condition and is operated by reasonable temperature, then metallic fatigue will be only cause of failure. So there should not, it has to be properly lubricated, it has to be properly mounted, it has to be properly sealed against dust, it has to be maintained, and it has to be operated in reasonable temperature. And after all these cases, the only failure will occur due to fatigue. We do not need to study fatigue to study bearing. Why? Because all of the study has already been done for preparing catalog. We need a quantitative common life measures. Quantitative means which can be counted, which can be compared easily. For that, what can be that quantitative measure? For example, number of revolution of the inner ring. We can say that it is a quantitative measure if we know number of revolution a bearing can support until the first tangible evidence of fatigue. For example, number of revolution of bearing are known, then we have a tangible or quantitative measure. For example, a bearing which can support 1 million revolution is better than a bearing which can support 500,000 of revolution. So that is a quantitative measure. Or in other words, if we are not talking about number of revolution, number of hours of use of standard angular speed. If angular speed is fixed, then number of hours can be a measure. For example, if a bearing can support 50,000 hours and second bearing can support same RPM for 80,000 hours, it means that second bearing is more useful. So that is a quantitative measure. The commonly used term is bearing life. So that is called a bearing life. We use a symbol L for bearing life. LD is for desired bearing life and LR is for rated or catalog bearing life. As in all fatigue, life is designed is a stochastic variable and has both distribution and associated statistical parameter. This life, the bearing life, is a statistical parameter. I have already explained some details about statistic. It is like that. We have mean value, we have standard distribution. This mean shows for normal distribution. This mean shows that 50% of parts lies here and 50% of parts lie here. That is a standard of normal distribution. So it is related to normal distribution. But we have already told you that the bearing life follows not normal distribution but Weibull distribution. That I will explain in the coming slide. The life measure of an individual bearing is defined as total number of revolution of bearing operated until the failure criterion is developed. So we will use number of revolution. The criterion will be a number of revolution. Hour and constant, why hours and constant speed? Let's say constant speed is revolution per minute multiplied by hours multiplied by 60 will give us revolutions. So number of revolution per minute multiplied by hours. So this term multiplied by constant speed RPM multiplied by 60 will give us revolutions. So the life of a bearing is given in terms of either revolutions or number of hours a bearing can withstand a given revolution per minute. Under ideal condition, the fatigue failure consists of spalling of load carrying surface. If the load carrying surface damages, the bearing failure occurs. American Bearing Manufacturers Association standard states that the failure criterion is the first evidence of fatigue that I already explained you. Timken Company, one of the most famous company of bearing, uses a pitting area of 0.01 inch square. If the bearing pitting area is at least 0.01 inch square, it means that bearing has been failed or fatigue has been started. So that for that failure criteria is used for the test for checking the failure of bearing, and then a number of bearings are tested. Based on the tested data, we have bearing life. What is the bearing life? Let's see here. The rating life. The rating life is a term sanctioned by the ABMA, American Bearing Manufacturers Association, and used by most of the manufacturers. And what is it? The rating life of group of nominally identical ball of roller bearing is defined as a number of revolutions that 90% of group of bearing will achieve or exceed before the failure. It means that, let's say we have a set of 100 bearings, exactly same bearing, 100, same 100 bearing, exactly same. We test those 100 bearing and against life. That is the amount revolutions on which the bearing failed, and we plot for each of 100 bearings. After we have all the 100 bearings are failed, we check for a life of after 10 bearing, count 10 bearing and make a life here. This is the life where 10 bearings are failed and 90 bearings have achieved this first life. Sorry, so not here, here. These 10 bearings, this is the, let's say this is the life of the bearing. Catalog life, that is the catalog life. This is the catalog life for which 90% of bearing has achieved more than this life and 10% bearings are being failed. So this is catalog life, and this is the life that is used, it's L10 or B10. Life 10, life more than 10, or B10 bearing 10 for bearing. So L10 or B10 is the life, is the life of bearing where or amount of load that 90% of bearing support and 10% fails before this value. This is called bearing life, rating life. It is also 10th percentile location of bearing group. You all know what is percentile. For example, you are 50 students in the class, and one student, if you put a line, this is a top student, if you put the line here, all 100% students are below this student. So it has a the top student has a percentile of 100 or 100th percentile. The 10th student here will be above 80% of the class. So the 10th student will have 80 percentile. So it is more above 80% of class, and the bottom last student is above 0% of, below him there is 0% also, it has 0 percentile. So just to explain that, median life, if we take average of all, so mathematically speaking, median percentile is 50th percentile of. Why we use 10th percentile, why not 0? It's better to explain in terms of class average. In the exam, if class average is 50 means 50 is 50% class average 50, it means that 50% students are below 50 and 50% are below above 50. If we take a percentile value of 90, it might be possible that one student is above 90 and remaining 90, all the students are below 90. So it will, the top student have 100 percentile. And going towards bottom, least value of the class member can, it is possible that it is 30. Let's say it is 30. If we keep passing marks of 30, it is for sure that 100% of the student will pass. It means that for a bearing, if you apply least number of revolution on the bearing, its life will be more. If you apply more load, its life will be less. Each bearing manufacturer will choose a specific rating life for which load revolution. Most of the time they take 10 power 6 revolution as a bearing life, and according to this life they design bearing. For example, they apply stresses on up to 10 power 6 revolution on this bearing and check if whether the bearing is has failed or not. If the bearing fails at 10 power 6 revolution at any load, so that will be the life of that bearing. But as compared to those, Timken company designed their bearing as 90 million revolution. As compared to 1 million for average bearing company, they designed their bearing according to 90 million revolution. How? 30,000 hours, 3,000 hours for 500 revolution per minute, multiplied by 60 because hours to be converted into minutes. 60 minute 60 into 3000 minute cancel out, so we get a value of 90 million revolutions. So that's how a company designs their bearing. They fix revolution, and according to that revolution they select which is the load of failure for that bearing. And what load? The load for which the 10% of bearing fail at their desired revolution. For example, if the company is keeping 1 million revolution as their benchmark and they are selecting a bearing, for that bearing they apply different loads. The amount of load for which 10% of bearing fail at 1 million revolution is the catalog rating for that bearing, or rated reliability. Bearing load life. What is reliability? Let me explain reliability. I have explained that for a normal distribution, 50% of parts lies here and 50% of parts lie here. So it means that this value, for example, let's say this value is strength and stress, applied stress, 400 MPa. It is a strength, and 400 MPa is strength, and we say that for this material, the material will not fail at 400 MPa, and after that the material will fail. At 400 MPa, it is possible that 50% of material fails and 50% of parts not fail. It means that for this value to be 400 MPa, we have a reliability of 50%. And let's say if someone wants you to design, to select a material, so select same material, but what is the strength of that material for a reliability of 30%, 80%. If you want a reliability of 80%, it means that the amount of stress for which only 20% of part fail but remaining parts are safe. For that you have to reduce the stress. Let's say this, and let's say this value is 300 MPa. It means that if you apply a stress of 300 MPa, it is most probably possible that 80% of the element pass the test and we have only 20% fail. But if someone tell you to increase the reliability to 90%, for that 90% you have to reduce this value more. How much more? It might be possible that you have to reduce this value to 200 MPa. And at 200 MPa, from 400 to 200, you have a reliability of 90%. You have increased the reliability. But if someone tells you to reduce this reliability to from 90% to 99%, it means that out of 100 samples you check, only one fails. It might be possible that this stress is 100 MPa. Again, if someone asks you that I don't want 1 of 100 fail, I want 1 in 1000 failures at least, at most. So it might be possible that applied stress reduces to 30 MPa or 1 in million failure. It will never be zero. It will never be zero. Reliability will never be 100%, but it will reliability will increase 90, 95, 99, 99.9, 99.99, one failure per million, one failure per billion, and from that the applied stress will reduce. It might be possible that a yield strength material of 400 MPa, you have to give a strength of equal to, let's say, 20 MPa for a reliability of 1 in million. The stress will be less. For example, if you see in the book machine design, let me tell you the number of page. Yes, in table 6.5 of Shigley, 6.5 table 6.5, you have a table related to reliability. It says that for a reliability of 50%, we have a reliability factor equal to 1. For example, 400 MPa, we have 50% reliability. For a reliability of 90%, we have a factor equal to 0.897. 0.897 multiplied with this, you will get value almost equal to 350 MPa almost. You have reliability from 50 to 90. Reliability increased a lot. But from 90 to 99% reliability, the factor is 0.814. Almost 325 MPa. But moving from 99.9 to 99.9999, we have a factor of 0.62, almost 240 MPa. And again moving to 99.69s or 79s, the factor is reducing. It means that if the strength is let's say 400 MPa, it has to be almost 240 MPa, so that 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000 part, in 100,000 part, one part may fail. That is reliability. In case of rated life, I have already explained that they have taken value C10. 10% parts are failing. It means that for any catalog of bearing, they have a reliability of 90% or 0.9. So all the equations for bearing design are for reliability of 0.9. So let's say that they have a curve, they have a failure criterion for a reliability curve of 0.9. This is life versus force, applied load versus life. These are the bearings that are failing. If we have to put a single point here, it has this value. For example, for this much load, we have a bearing life of this, and for the same element, for this much of load, we have a bearing life of this. Bearing life is increasing while load is decreasing. This is a reliability curve of 0.9. Reliability curve of 9. More the load, less is the life. Less the load, more is the life. So we have one single curve for reliability of 0.9. And between the curve, between the different points, we have the relationship FL power 1 by A equal to constant, or in case of ball bearing, you have A is equal to 3, and in case of roller bearing, you have A is equal to 10 by 3 or 3.33. Here we have 3 and here we have 3.33. And all these tables are made for a reliability of 0.9. Using this table, we can say that if we have one point here, another point here, for these 2 points, we can have relationship F1 L1 power 1 by A equal to F2 L2 power 1 by A. So that will be seen here. So rated reliability or bearing life is shown in terms of catalog rating or C10. It is same as B10 or L10, but as it is according to catalog, we have a term C10. 10% of group fails. Catalog load is radial load that causes 10% of group of bearing to fail, and the bearing manufacturer rating life. So according to their rating life, 10% of parts are failing. Catalog load is often referred to as basic dynamic load rating or sometimes just basic load rating. That was the curve. In that curve, let's say for a designer has fixed the life of for their life. For let's say for designer we have 10 power 6 revolution. For that 10 power 6 revolution we have this point. In the designer catalog, you will see that they have written for any bearing a load of, let's say, 50 kilonewton. For example, there is a bearing which can withstand 50 kilonewton of load. It means that for the same bearing, if we increase the load, life is decreasing, or if we decrease the load, life can be increased. But for 10 power 6, they have designed a bearing of 50 kilonewton load. So if we have, this is catalog, this point is let's say rated point, and we need to design the bearing for any other point. Let's say if the force we are applying is a little bit more, or it is point D, which either we can say that it is desired point. So we need to check what is the life of bearing for this D, or vice versa. We can say that we have a desired life, and for that desired life we can select which is the load of bearing which can be applied on the load for that life. So for that, between point D and R, we have this relationship. Or simplified form, FR, this life of bearing is in revolution, and it is converted in, this is revolution, 60 minutes in an hour into R. Life unit of L is hours. So 60 into hours give us minutes into revolution per minute, which is N. So minute cancels out. We have finally value of 60 into L into N, which gives us life in revolutions. So rated life is usually given by the catalog. For example, some manufacturers say we have a rating life of 10 power 6 revolution. So that is desirable, not desired. That is rated life. Let's say you need to design a bearing, and you say that I want to apply a load for let's say 10,000 hours and RPM of 1000 RPM. 10,000 revolutions for 100 RPM, sorry, 10,000 hours and 1000 RPM, and we need to calculate this FD, and a life of bearing is calculated. From this we can FD is given. If FD is given, we need to check FR, rated life. So FR is C10, because for bearing we have life C10. It is a curve of 90% reliability for C10. For this curve, we have this relationship, and if we know that this is our desired load, we need to apply this desired load for this much hours for this RPM, and this is the life for which the company has designed their bearing, let's say 10 power 6 RPM. So from substituting all these values in the equation, we will get value of C10, and that C10 we can check from the table. Let's just explain this thing with a simpler example. In this example, we have been asked to consider a SKF bearing which rates its bearing of 1 million revolutions. So for that bearing, we know that rated life is 1 million revolutions, and if you desire a life of 5,000 hours, so life of desired life is 5k hours and desired RPM are 1725 and load is 400 lbf and reliability of 90%. The equation that this last equation was for reliability of 10%, 90%. Equation, substituting all values, this whole term is equal to 1 million revolution, 10 power 6. LD is given, ND is given, FD is given. A is for because it is roller bearing, we'll consider A equal to 3. We have all the values, substituting and get value of FR, which is also equal to C10, 90% reliability. And this value, after calculating, we get this value equal to 3211 lbf or equal to 14.3 kilonewton. Now for this 14.3 kilonewton, we have a table 11-2. In that table, if you see that it is for single row 2 series deep groove angular contact ball bearing. For this, in the question, they have not given us which type of bearing we can use. So it can be either deep groove or angular contact. So you can consider deep groove bearing for C10 ratings. For C10 rating, the answer was 14.3. So this bearing, the first safe bearing will be 19.3. We have this bearing. So single row 2 series deep groove angular contact 30 mm ball bearing will be suitable for this contact. Or if you want to go to C0, it means that C0 where none of the bearing is failing, that value is this. If you use this 40 mm bearing, it is impossible that the bearing fails for 1 million revolutions, or otherwise for C10 we will be using 19.5, and it is recommended to use C10 value, not C0 value.